we have there's one person that is joining, but for some reason can't join. Is still in the waiting room.
Hi, Sue.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hi, Brigitta.
Good to
Hi.
see you.
Okay, let's start. Good evening, everybody. Good morning if you are joining us from the US. Good evening in Europe, in Africa, Middle East, and good night if you are in Asia, somewhere in Asia. We have the pleasure today to host Paola Perina. She's a communication expert with background in psychology from San Francisco State University. And then she has 3 decades of business experience leadership. She has been in Toastmasters in 2018, and she has served the roles of the PRM and also different PR lead positions in the district and in conferences and in different levels within Toastmasters. So let's give the floor to Paola. Thank you, Paola.
Thank you so much, Juan, for having me here, and hello, everyone. Before we get started, I would like to know what you hope to get out of this webinar tonight. What is the one thing that you think you're going to learn? So we'll see. You can speak. We're not very many people, so we can just have a conversation. So for example, Sandra.
Hi, I've been in Toastmasters since 1988, which is also at the same time I began my graphic design career with Adobe. I do a lot of the promotions for the 2 clubs I belong to, and I'm also advising people on how to brand themselves. And so I was curious by this opportunity to attend today to see what has changed since, the ancient days, and make sure I'm up to date.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Sandra. Brigitta.
Well, I have my own business and I am always interested in marketing advices or knowledge. And I know that Paula, you always have some great advices. That's why I am decided to join this workshop or webinar or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, because marketing and everything regarding the marketing we need in our personal, our business, and of course our Toastmasters life.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I see Caroline is captivated by how to get people to stop scrolling. And what about you, Bev?
Actually, that's what drew me into how to separate what we do from all the other thousands of things that people just scroll on by. We spend a fair bit, or I spend a fair bit of time trying to design, normally in Canva, something that's going to separate us and make people want to stop and look at my club stuff. So that's what's got me captivated also.
Okay, wonderful, because then you're in the right place. This is what we're going to talk about tonight. And what about you, Sue?
Well, for me, I'm always looking to up level my skills. I know it's quite hard in the world today to actually capture people. So I'm always looking at how I can craft my messages even better to draw people in so they become part of my tribes. So
thank you, Sue.
really delighted
well,
to be
I
here.
think we are very well aligned. The expectations are, yeah. Because I'm not going to go over anything Canva tonight. Okay, so we're not going to look at anything Canva. First of all, because I believe that we have YouTube and there are a zillion tutorials out there that can teach you to go from zero to hero very, very much so. And there is no need for a Toastmaster to be here and reinvent the wheel. What we are going to be looking at tonight, and I'm going to start sharing a little bit of the screen here. One, tell me if I'm sharing it right.
It's a black screen.
It's starting.
Oh
No,
yeah,
yes.
now.
we
Is
see
it,
it.
Yeah.
is it starting now?
Yes, we
Yes.
see it now.
Okay, good. Thank you. So let me do this. Okay. Okay, if I go like this, just I'm going to ask because I see the gallery this way. Is the screen going black or do you see me? I mean, and see the screen still.
We see you, and then we see a picture of a person, of a lady that says how people read
All
your
right,
posts.
perfect, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so tonight we're going to cover exactly this. How do people read your posts? When you're posting something on social media, how do people perceive them? And for us to be able to answer that question, we are going to be looking into the brain. How does the brain perceive things? Because that's where it all starts. And also we're going to look at why that matters to us as VPPRs, but also if we are posting, like Birgitta said, for our own business, for our own personal life. Okay, so let me see here. I'm going to start with the statistics for you. Maybe you are already familiar with it. And that is, how much time do people spend on average on any piece of content? And it's written right here. It's a quote directly from the website of Meta, the owner of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And it says that on average, people will spend 1.7 seconds on any piece of content when they're on mobile. So when they're scrolling, that's how long they will, of an attention span they will have for your post. Now, this is taken from a memo of 2016, so it's old stuff. It's almost 10 years old, the statistics here. My idea here is that it could even be shorter than this. So now the question is, since people, let's say, spend 1.7 seconds on a piece of content, how can we attract their attention? Because that's very, very short time. And to answer that question, we need to look at our brain. And our brain, and I'm going to stop this, otherwise it drives us crazy. Our brain, we can say that it has specialized areas of interest. Now, it all works together. It works synergistically, that we know. But it does have areas that are specialized in certain things. Who knows which are the main areas of the brain? There are three mainly. Anyone? Well, the three main areas that are involved here are the part that's behind our neck here, at the bottom of our skull, which is the oldest part of our brain that has to do with instinct, that has to do with the fact that our heart beats, that we breathe, that we eat because we get hungry. Okay, that is the part that governs the physical part of us. Then there is another part of our brain which sits right here in the middle, tucked inside our brain. And that is the emotional part of our brain. That is what is called the sentinel. It's always on the lookout for our well-being, for us being safe, for us belonging to a group, for us being safe from pain. Okay, that is the amygdala right there. And then we have the other part of our brain, which is that crinkled gray part. It starts from the front and it goes all the way back. That is the thinking part. That is the part that can help us speak, that allows us to be able to speak, think, write, read, and do all these things. Now, which part of the brain do you think is the one that is actually involved when we see a post online? Which one of this part of the brain do you think is the one that responds? Any idea? Just guess. You're writing, I just see, all to reptilian brain cortex. Well, actually, the part of the brain that is involved is the amygdala. Let me show you on the screen what it looks like. When your eyes see a piece of content, the part that fires up immediately, and when I say immediately, I mean in a split second, much, much less than 1 second, is the amygdala. That is the part of the emotional brain. It sits right there in the middle of our brain, and it's always on the lookout for what is best for us. It developed millions of years ago, of course, and it was on the lookout to keep us safe. We would live in very dangerous environments, right? So it was on the lookout for anything that would move around in our environment because it could be a threat. It could be something that could eat us alive. It was on the lookout for anything that looked different. And it was also on the lookout for anything that could help us survive. Now, of course, millions of years have passed. Now we are not in those environments, but we're still, it's still on the lookout for our well-being here in the modern jungle, which can be our work environment, for example. What can help us be more accepted? What can help us feel better in our work environment? So what piece of content could help us win or thrive in our environment? Okay, so it's always on the lookout for that. And it's, as I said, it's very quick. So it reacts within less than 1 second. And therefore we can call it that it's the gatekeeper. It keeps the attention and says, yes, this is relevant. It's good for your for you to thrive. It's good for you to grow. Or it says, no, it's irrelevant to you. It's subconscious. It works much faster than the thinking brain. So when we see a piece of content, our unconscious picks up on these clues, and we will see which ones they are, and immediately decides whether it's worth stopping or if we should keep on scrolling. So let's have a look at what fires up the amygdala, what grabs its attention. There are 3 main areas that grab attention. The first one is our social triggers. As I mentioned already, it appeals to safety, growth, belonging, approval, and of course, avoidance of pain and fear. So anything that has to do with these sort of topics here are interesting to the amygdala, if they pertain to our environment, of course. Next is visual triggers. Remember those million years ago when things were moving and were different and they could eat us alive? Well, it's still in there. So it will look out for novelty, for things that stand out in the visual field. So anything that maybe breaks a pattern, which is a little bit different, gets noticed immediately. It can be movement, it can be arrows, diagonals, gestures, and colors. We will see each one of these because then we will leverage these things to attract the amygdala's attention. And finally, last but not least, and it's very important to us, is meaning triggers. That is, it gives it relevance to what's in it for me, because it's always on the lookout for things that are going to increase our well-being. So what is the benefit? What is one clear benefit to me? Understanding these triggers is very useful in creating posters because it tells you exactly what you should be putting into your content in order to attract that attention. Now, I would like to stress one thing here. The only goal that a poster should have is to get our brain to say, okay, this is interesting, to gain time so that the cortex, which is slower, and so we'll read it and we'll take its time reading, etc., has the, okay, the gate opener. is there and can then take the time to read it. So the only goal is to stop the scrolling. So let's see how we can do that. First of all, the social triggers. One of the most powerful ones is the human face. Not only the human face, but the human face that smiles and the human face that gazes straight into the eyes. That goes back to when we were infants, because an infant cannot survive without a mother. And it's the first thing that an infant will learn how to do is to gaze into his mother's face. And this is what it will recognize. Now, many, many years have passed since then, but instinctively, when we see a face which has a smile and gazes at us, we immediately look back. We might not like the face afterwards, but that's not the point. The point is that it attracts us irresistibly. Next is emotions. Remember, the amygdala is the center of emotions. It goes before the ability to speak. Okay, so it's pre-verbal. That means that we can understand the emotions even though there is no text to accompany them. We can look at these pictures and we can recognize immediately what these people are going through. There is no title there, nothing that explains the context, but still we can understand it very, very well because our amygdalas can immediately recognize what's going on. We can see rage, we can see pride, we can see discomfort, and we can even make sense of that tree there, which is not a face, and yet even a symbol of an emotion is possible. Our brain can process correctly. So to sum it up, social triggers are faces, smiling faces, and especially faces that gaze straight into the eyes, and pictures that show emotions. With it's appropriate, of course, and I will show you an example in a minute. Then we have visual triggers. The first one is colors. Bright colors and high contrast. This is very important because, again, this is what attracts our emotional center, the sentinel. Now, we might not like bright colors in general, maybe not in a house, maybe we want muted colors. But this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about attracting immediate attention, attention that is subconscious, and that is triggered by strong colors and a strong contrast. Arrows of any kind, both the kind of arrow like you see here underneath, which is a regular arrow, or even less obvious arrows. We instinctively look towards the direction of the arrow. So that will come in very handy when it comes to, for example, call to actions. Remember everything that is different? Well, yes, everything that stands out from a pattern, we immediately notice. So that also can be leveraged and used in your posters. And then movement. Even in still pictures like these ones, there is still movement. If you can see the top pictures, the one with the lights that come in on a stage, they are coming in on a diagonal line, and they form a sense of movement. It's not such a static picture. Even the microphone is not standing straight, but it's in a diagonal. Diagonals are very much attractive to amygdalas. And the speaker underneath it, it's a still picture, but yet you can see movement there. And then the third area of trigger is the meaning. Remember what's in it for me? That is a very important one because this one will help us craft the main message. Now, everything that is an interest to the person, of interest to the person, everything that is a need that the person has, or even a pain point, will immediately trigger the interest of our emotional brain if it's addressed. Now, let's start looking at real examples here. Personal relevance answered the questions, what's in it for me? And I've prepared here 3 examples taken from the Toastmasters experience, Toastmasters world. The first one is about public speaking. The second is about conflict resolution. And the third is about looking good on stage. They're all subjects that, of course, we as Toastmasters have a way of answering, of proposing solutions, etc. So let's say this guy here has these sort of needs or pain points. What kind of posts could we be creating so that his amygdala, his emotional center, stops long enough to give that thumb up? I have prepared 3 of them, and I will explain why they're this way. The first one is about public speaking. As you can see, this has several things in it that we just looked at. The first one is the clapping of the hand. So there is movement there and there is noise. So that attracts attention. But that noise there, that clapping noise, tells our emotional center that it's an emotion, a positive one. It's one of acceptance, because people applaud when they accept you. And also, let's do it again. There is the element of surprise. At one point, this guy comes in. It's a surprise. So since the only goal we have here is to attract attention, this is the kind of poster that would attract that instant attention. Let's look at a still poster. Now here, there is no movement in it, but we can immediately spot emotion there. And of course, then the text would support the image. Conflict at the office. Our subconscious immediately notices that. And if that is a pain point for us, this would get that thumb up. Let's stop and take a look at this. And next, we are going to look at the example number 3, which would be stage presence, would be looking good on stage. Look who's there. I've chosen Sabayashi here because he does look good on stage. And he has that stage presence that many Toastmasters are searching. Now, in this case, I've also used text to support the image, or the image to support the text, whichever way you want to look at this. And in this case, I have used the yellow to guide the eye to 3 main ideas: stage presence, which is the benefit, gain confidence, that goes together, and also the call to action, which is start your journey now. And you can see there is an arrow there inside the image, inside the post. Remember, movement, color contrast, arrows, those are all part, movement and emotion are all part of those triggers that we just saw. Now, when we get the okay, the gate is open, in comes the frontal part of our brain, the rest of our brain really, which is the one that understands, that analyzes, that speaks, that reads, okay? It's a lot it's a lot slower, but I mean, it's still fast, but it's a lot slower than the amygdala. But it's the kind that's the part of your brain that will start reading your post, that will start making sense of it. Is it a meeting? And if so, where is it? When is it? It will start looking up Google Calendars to see if there is any conflicting appointment at the same time. It will start looking at Google Maps to see where the meeting is, if you need to drive there, or, you know, things like this. It will take its time, but it will go through it as soon as, if that thumb is up from the emotional part. Now, since we know that people will look at our posts no longer than 1 to 2 seconds, how many words do you think a person can read in that amount of time? Well, most research shows that it's between 5 and 10. It depends on how fast you can read, but between 5 and 10. So your main message, which is of course the benefit that the person is looking for, needs to be within 10 words maximum. Now, in the Toastmasters space, I call it the Toastmaster space around, Facebook pages, Instagram pages, I find that many posters as the main message have things like the club's name, sometimes even the club's number, ID number. They have, information which is not a benefit to the person that's reading. The main space on a poster needs to be for the benefit. All the rest of the information can be read and can be into the caption, because once the interest is being captured, the person will go and look at the caption. Now, let's look here at these examples. These are excellent examples by LinkedIn and by Google, who are experts when it comes to grabbing attention. And as you can see, these ads, they don't have very many words on them. The first one, it says, your dream job is closer than you think. It's a very clear benefit. And if you look at the call to action, it says, see jobs. That's all. Nothing more there. The Google Ads expert here says, get more leads and sales with targeted campaigns. For those who are doing campaigns on Google, in Google Ads, those are huge benefits. More leads and sales. And again, the call to action is simple. It says start today. There is nothing else in here. And also this other poster that we see over here, I don't know who did this poster. It could be LinkedIn, maybe. The benefit is spelled out in a very, very large fashion. Now, how easy is it to get your message in such in such few words? It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult. But fortunately, today we have AI. And I really recommend that you use AI for this, because it does a fantastic, fantastic job. You can put in, all of your ideas, your paragraphs, and say, this is what we do. This is what I am trying to get to. Put it down in one main benefit that is 10 words or less, and it will do it for you, and it will do a very, very good job. So by all means, do use AI for this. And now back to our thinking brain here. We said that one benefit is really recommended. But what if we need to list more than one? Sometimes it's useful or it's advisable that we list more than one, like in this case. In that case, of course, we come to bullet lists. And when it comes to bullet lists, there are a few rules that would be advisable to follow. The first one is that we list when we have at least 2 items. Just at 2 items, even with just 2 items, we can start a bullet point list. We keep similar lengths. Sometimes you see bullet points where they have 3 words and then 8 words and then 6, okay? Again, AI is great with this, so try and make them the same length. They can be 3 or 4 words, but then, you will try to keep the whole list 3 or 4 words. You want to begin with different words each line to keep it interesting. And you want to use the same type of word. That means if you're starting with a verb, which is recommended, you continue with a verb throughout the list. You don't go a verb in a noun. Okay, so you need to be consistent there. In this case, I started with verbs: grow, discover, meet, expand. But for example, grow skills, it could have been skill growth. If you choose that way, then you would continue that way as well. And now, before we go into the call to action, I would like to ask if there are questions or if there is something that you would like to discuss. Anyone?
For my side, it's all clear. Thank you.
Okay, so we continue. Okay, let's continue then with the call to action. What is a call to action? Well, as the word says, it's a command to do something or an invitation to do something. So when we do something, there usually needs to be a verb. And I have a very simple formula here for you, which is easy, very easy to remember. Here it is. We have an action verb. We start with an action verb. We need to have a benefit in our call to action, and then clarity and urgency. Now let's break it down and see what this means. First of all, what questions do these points answer? First of all, action verb answer the question what to do. We need to tell the person exactly what we want them to do or what they need to do in order to proceed. The clearer we are, the more on target we are, the easier it will be for us to get over indecision. Friction. Friction or indecision is what could cause you to lose a customer, or could cause you to lose a member, a future member. Because when there is friction, if the person does not know exactly what to do next, they might wonder, and in that wondering, they might decide that maybe they do it another moment or just not going to do anything more. So more on this in a moment. The benefit is the usual, what's in it for me, needs to be in the call to action as well. And then there is clarity or urgency. Clarity is when. So we want this person to do this thing because it's going to bring this person such a benefit. And when do we want it to do it? Is it urgent? Do they need to do it today, now, within 2 days? That is urgency. Urgency is very used in marketing, of course, even overused, I would say. But it's the kind of call to action that you get when they say offer ends in 2 days or offer ends tonight at 10. Okay, urgency, because it leverages the fear of missing out an opportunity, what's called FOMO normally. Let's see a couple of examples. Now, in blue, we have speak with impact because that's a benefit. You can shuffle these around, by the way. It would be advisable to start with an action verb, but you can shuffle them as long as the elements are in there. So speak with impact is the benefit, and register here. Here, of course, under this, you would want to have a link. So the person does not have to look around where to register, just clicks the link. For our open meeting when this Tuesday. So that is the clarity. This coming Tuesday, we have a meeting. You can register here and you can learn how to speak with impact. Or, for example, another one could be direct message us for a free guest pass, the benefit, to this week's meeting, October 2nd. Here we have again that clarity. It's what it needs to do. Needs to send us a direct message. What is it going to get? A guest pass, which is free. And for what? For the meeting that is going to happen on October 2nd. A clear and powerful call to action. Now let's look at 2 call to actions which are widely used online, but that are considered weak. And we'll see why they're weak. The first one is learn more. You will see it everywhere. The problem with learn more as a call to action is that it's very vague. First of all, it does start with a verb, by the way, which is good, learn. But it doesn't really say what we're going to learn. What kind of learning will there be? Exactly. It doesn't say, it's vague. Not only that, but the word learn implies work. No learning is free, I mean, without effort, right? So we are asking the person to put out an effort for some unknown result. That is why this call to action is extremely weak. It causes friction. It causes you to possibly lose a customer. What you could say instead is, for example, watch a 3-minute demo or download our free one-page guide. Doesn't matter what you say. It depends on the context, of course. But as you can see, there is a very clear verb that says exactly what the person needs to do in order to learn more. They need to watch or they need to download. And it also is very clear about the effort that's going to go into this learning. In this case, there is a 3-minute demo, so you know the time investment. It's not a 1-hour tutorial. You download a free one-page guide, so it's not one page, it's not 60 pages. Sometimes there are downloads that are very, very big and they're boring. So if you are very specific about what the person needs to do in order to continue exploring what you have to offer, you need to be very, very precise and tell them what they need to do exactly and what kind of effort they need to put out. Link in bio is very used on Instagram, we know. It's weak because, well, first of all, it doesn't even have a verb. And so there is no real call to action there. But also because it implies that the person needs to take several steps here. It needs to go from where it is to your page, search for the link, and then go somewhere else. If you really have to use this, at least you can add a verb like tap, click the link in our bio and tell them exactly what they will get if they do that step there, if they do that work. To reserve your free guest spot, for example. Even better, it would be a different type of call to action, which could be a more personal one. Message us, send us a direct message for what? And you tell them what they're going to get if they send you the direct message. Any questions about the call to actions before we move on? No questions? Okay, let's go on then. We're now at the second part of the webinar, which is how do people read a page? Now I want to involve you. So I'm going to be showing you a post. It's a very simple post. I want you to read it, and then I'm going to ask you a question. Ready? Here we go. I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, how many of you read the first 2 lines in the sequence provided? Can you raise your hand? Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, okay. Everybody's saying it. Did you read all the sequence in the way provided? Okay. Do you think I am a fortune teller that I know how you're going to be able to read this? Well, the reason for this is that this poster here was created following reading patterns, which is what we're going to be looking at now. Let me go back to my presentation. Now, since we know that people are going to start reading at the top. Where do you think the most important information should go? Of course, right there, because it should not be tucked away somewhere in some small text somewhere else. It needs to be placed right there when people are going to look at first. But now let's go into how people read pages. So maybe this will become even more clear. Now, this story about reading pages had started about 20 years ago by a guy named Nielsen, who is the founder of the Nielsen Norman Group. They started in 2006 to provide people with devices that would track their eyeballs when they were given random pages online pages to look at, to read. And what came out of that research was that people did not really read word for word. They read in patterns. They scanned the page according to certain patterns, and those patterns formed heat maps, like you can see here. There were several types of heat maps, of patterns that emerged, but two of them are by and large the most popular ones, the ones that are the most used by people. And they are the Z pattern and the F pattern. You can see it a little bit here in these heat maps. We're now going to look at them closely. The Z reading pattern is the one that is most used on websites, but it's also very, very useful to leverage when we are creating our posters. We start reading, as we said, as we're Westerners, we're taught as children to start reading a page from the top left, then move straight across the page to the right. But since people aren't reading everything, they're scanning, the next thing they're going to do is they're going to drop down to the bottom left, read again the full line at the bottom, okay? The points here, which are the strongest points, are the angles. The 4 angles are your points of power. In fact, in a website, this is where they place the logo, usually on the left, the sign up buttons, usually on the right. Then they have what they call a hero image, which is an image that supports either a product image, or it can be, if it's a service, something that will represent what that website is about, the kind of service that's offered. Then down to the bottom left, we have some helpful text. And then again, here to the right, we have another call to action button. Now let's look at a real website, one that we are all familiar with, and see how it works. This is the Toastmasters International website. I took this picture a couple of days ago, so it's a very recent one. As you can see, we have the corners. We have the corner left with the logo, and the corner right with call to action, with sign up button, find a club. And here you can find all the important stuff, the menu, the navigational menu, because that's people are going to read all of this as they're moving from left to right. Then we find the hero picture here, a guy speaking, because we're all about public speaking. And I would like you to notice that this also has a diagonal line here. Remember our amygdala that likes those diagonals? They are using it here. We also have some text here, and they have repeated the find a club also in the text. We have our line that brings us down to the bottom, which is a call to action, because here they say, search through Toastmasters world-class speakers for your next event. So if you're looking for a speaker for an event, this is where you're going to look. You either have accredited speakers or you have world champions that you can hire. Okay? The Z pattern. Now, we've seen it on a website. Now, Juan might want to tell us later more about this, since he's an expert in website. And can we use it for our posters as well? The answer is yes. It's very much used in posters. Now, let me show you. And then we'll go back and see the anatomy of this. As you can see, we got the 4 angles here, plus a hero image in the middle. We have logo on the left in the first poster. In the second one, the logo is not over there. It's in another angle. If you look at the brand manual, it will require that you use the logo in one of the angles, preferably the left one, the top left angle and the right bottom angle. Those are the 2 that are recommended, but each of the angles is okay. Then we move across on top, and here I based this on a very successful campaign that was run by District 91, which is the Thanks Toastmasters campaign. They used one benefit and it's in the past tense, so it means I already achieved it. So I improved my confidence, thanks Toastmasters. And here we have the image of a lady who looks confident on stage. And then we drop down to the bottom left. We learn how could be our club address. And then to the right, where there could be a call to action there. We could even have a QR code there, for example, where people could go to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, our website, or maybe our meetup or Eventbrite, whatever it is that we want people to do to join our next meeting. So the Z pattern. In the second poster, it's the same. It's just done a little bit differently, but it works exactly the same way. So this is one of the most used patterns for posters because it guides the eye. The eye already naturally follows this line, and you guide it with your information. The next popular reading pattern is the F reading pattern. It's this one. Again, it starts on the left. We always start reading on the left and move all the way to the right, which is the first line is the one that is read the most. We then skip down along the vertical line and we read 3 or 4 lines, but not all the way to the end. We skim it when we scan, okay? We see what they say at the beginning, and then we drop down at the bottom. This drop down at the bottom, with the call to action, you want to have it at point 9. When the eye stops, that's the call to action. Let's have a look at an example. The F pattern is very, very easy to accomplish in a poster because it usually stays very well in a column like this. So again, I used that, I based it on that campaign. I nailed my interview and got the job, thanks Toastmasters, and then learn how at your club address. Or it could be a better call to action like we've seen. It could be sign up here or others. Any questions about the reading patterns?
Yes, Paola. Hi, this is Alexia. I have 2 questions. The first one is, when do we use the C pattern versus the F? And the second question is, when you were explaining about the Z pattern, what is the difference from your point of view between sign up and CTA? Thank you.
Okay, let's do it one at a time. The first one is the difference. When would you be using F and when would you be using Z?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, well, that is really up to you. Both of them work. There is some, okay, when it comes to websites, let's say that it depends on what you're using it for. If you're using it to create posters, it's up to you. Whatever works best for your post. If you're using it for a website, instead, the Z pattern is used most for home pages, like the one we just saw, whereas the F pattern is used more for maybe a blog or anyway, where there's a lot of text. And in that case, you know that people will read, tendentially, they will read vertically. So the first line and then the second, third, and so on, but more towards the left side. So all the important things would need to go along those lines. So that depends on what you're using it for. The F pattern for busier pages, the Z pattern for home pages. For posters, it doesn't matter. We will see, as we go on with this webinar, I will show you posts that use both the Z and the F pattern. What was the second question?
When you were explaining the Z pattern, you were talking that on the right-hand side, it would say sign up, top right would say sign up, and bottom right is about the CTA. Can you explain the difference between those two?
Well, this is something which is in use. I mean, this is something that has been conventionally used now for a long time in web design. There is not really, I'm not aware of the fact that there is a real reason for this. Probably it's a convention, or probably they've seen that it works the best. What's important to know here is that the 4 angles are the ones that work the most. Therefore, all important things like the logo, the call to action, and the sign up buttons need to go in one of those angles. You don't want to put it somewhere in the home page. I don't know, Juan, do you have any explanation about this?
No, I was thinking, but no, not that I can come up with now.
Yeah, this is based on user experience design. So the Z pattern and the F pattern are used a lot by designers of that are, that use UX, user experience. And most likely they have seen over the years that they work best when they're placed the call to action at the bottom, because probably also because it's the last thing a person sees, in the pattern. You land eventually on the call to action on the right hand side. And since that's the last thing you look at, that's where the call to action is placed.
Yeah, now that you're explaining, yeah, so that's exactly the point. So first you need to know why you are gonna do a call to action, because a call to action is what it says, is an action that comes from, first you need to understand why you are gonna do something, and then it's the last part, because now is do it.
Yeah, so you have everything, all the information earlier, and
Yeah.
then you land over there and it says, now do this. The next thing you need to do is this. Yeah, that's the reason for it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Anyone else, or shall we move? Oh, yes, Sandra.
I was a typographer and studied typography and design for many years. And the reality is that our eyes are lazy. And in fact, we don't read below the center of a word to the baseline. We only read the top half. So if you were to take a piece of paper and place it over another piece of paper and just see the top half of the words, you'd be able to read it. And
Yes.
so that's how our eyes read, and they also scroll in the natural Z pattern. And so you want to put the most important thing you want them to know, which is that compelling, what's in it for me type thing, right at the top. Once you got their attention, then they're willing to take a little bit of a journey. But we always used to call the F pattern the fatigue pattern. And we use the Z because we all love to just get on a zebra and ride on, do it fast. That's how our eyes just naturally move the way we're born.
Yes, absolutely, Sandra. That's it. The most important thing needs to go there on top, like we've seen, and follow that Z pattern or the F pattern, then it depends. Because that's how we're trained to, I mean, is someone speaking?
Yes, I was trying to add one more comment to it, and that is to make sure that the eyes of the person in your posting follow along with that Z. So otherwise it looks like the person really isn't engaged in what you're being presented. Therefore, why should you?
Yes, yes, that's also why you would use color. That's why you would use typography, hierarchy, and all us, all the things that you would be using in creating a poster, of course, to help along that line. Okay, anyone else, or shall we move on? Okay, so now I have an example here, and I would like you to participate. And that is this, I created this example, but it's based on things that I see a lot of, unfortunately. And that is, I see posters which have probably taken a long, long time to create, with lots and lots of text, very confused, and they are hard to read. Now, how could we improve this? Well, first of all, let's have a look at what's wrong with it. So I have come up with a few things. Maybe you might want to use to add others. It's a confused design. There is no clear structure. The eye does not know where to go. There's low contrast. It's hard to read. Too much information. Any other comments on this?
The red stripe on the right, on the side is distracting, and it would be much more effective on the left side where the photos are. Plus the Toastmasters logo isn't flush left or centered with the photos. But it would really help it a lot if it just moved over. And then that chunk of type, I'm bored before I read it. So I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Now, as I said, I created this with all the wrong things in it.
On purpose, I hope.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, that paragraph is way too long, and if you do need all that text, put a little bit of breaks so that your mind has a chance to take a breath.
That's it. Perfect. So what I've done now is I have created another poster with the same type of information that's on this one, but it's a little bit rearranged. Okay, so I have removed the speakers and I have used a picture which is more in line with what the hook is here, which is, do you want to win an argument? Which, by the way, was okay over there. It was the first thing that you would see on top. That's the only thing that was good in that poster. And then there are the benefits. Then there is a call to action and then some information. It's still not an optimized poster, but it starts to show that what you can do is extract the main information from all that paragraph there and start, how would you say this? And start dividing it into ideas. The first one is, do you want to win the argument, which is the hook. You get the person with that question. The second is the benefits, and then where to go. So now the thing is easier to scan and it's easier to read. Now, how would you improve this? Any ideas?
There are some comments in the chat. One of them is about the caps, that is all caps. That is like more, it gives the sense that it's screaming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so everything is all caps, okay.
I would also make explicit the location and the date, because now if you just scan it quickly, it seems that it's part of the content, but it's like it's like a different type of content.
Yeah, it's all the same, right? I think this is what is being said at the moment, is that it all looks pretty much uniform. It's still divided into segments, but it looks pretty much all the same. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Bev, I see you.
Also, I
You
don't
raised your
really know
hand.
where to go. I mean, Los Angeles is big.
Oh, no, I know. Now, I created this, as you see, many years ago in 2021, because I was doing a webinar like similar to this one in Los Angeles. So I put that there, but of course you would need a real address, which is not there. Okay, any other ideas?
So Paula, I have a question regarding the first iteration of this poster. I agree with all the things that are wrong with it. But one of the things that I use and we're often told to use is pictures of people, because that's identification, and people will say, oh, I know her. I'm going to go to that because she's in my workplace, or I saw something else that she did. What's your comment on using personal people's pictures as opposed to a stock photo like the one we're using now?
Okay, yes, I will address that in a moment when I have another case study.
Okay.
But we can also talk about it now, and that is, I totally agree with you to use your club's, the people in your club's photos, if possible. But that also depends on the audience that you are creating the poster for. Because it could be that the people that are in the poster, the people in, if you're creating this for a large city, for example, may be totally unknown. Whereas a stock picture, if it's picked right, and I will show you, not in this one, but in another example, it could be more attractive to a larger audience. Whereas if you're creating the poster for maybe a smaller city, a smaller place, a smaller community where people know each other, well then yes, by all means, use those, or even for your club, for your area, then you would want to use the people, the real speakers, the ones that are in your club. So it depends who you're targeting. But as I said, let's look at it later when we go into that specifically.
In any case, in this case, call me Mr. Monk, but it's not centered, it's not sideways. That square with the text is crushing our person, and not really, why have that square, by the way, or rectangle?
Well, I think that the reason why I created that at the time was to put the focus on the text. Okay, as I said, this was created several years ago, so it might need to be renewed. But there is a principle here, and that is that you take the text from that heavy paragraph that we had there. It shows the progression. You take the text, you break it down into ideas, into concepts, which is the main hook, the benefits, and where it's going to happen. Okay, and then you put them all in one. In this case, it's an F pattern. Okay, so the next thing I've done is this, and that is to create a little bit of variety here, both with color contrast, to use different sizes in text. Like win an argument is a bigger size, and also it's yellow. And then the benefits now are in a bullet list, and they are very much standing out because they have a white background, they're red. It's very, very easy to read. So we've gone from this to this. This would be so much easier to scan at a glance, which is actually what's going to happen within 2 seconds. Okay, it's 8 o'clock, so we need to move on. Now, I have this other case study, and this is a real poster, by the way, except that I have removed everything that pertains to the real club, because it's not a critique to that particular club, but it is a case study for us to be working on. So the speakers are, of course, just stock photos, and I have removed the names, etc. But the rest of it is exactly as that poster was shown. Now, how can we improve it? This time, I'm going to let you guys do the work.
I don't know if I'd highlight meeting. No, I mean, it's kind of obvious. That's the first thing we read, and it's pointless.
Absolutely. So meeting, Is a meeting a benefit to anyone? I don't think so. I don't think that the word meeting can be seen as a benefit, since we want to have the benefit spelled out as big as possible. They are, this is a misinterpretation of what a benefit would be. Okay, anything else?
There is no.
Pictures of the people,
Sorry?
the speakers. I thought we can reduce the pictures of the speakers so that it's not so, it's not the focus.
So the speakers should not be there?
No, like this, the picture should be smaller, the circle.
Oh, smaller
Should be
picture.
smaller, yes.
Okay.
I barely see
Okay.
them now. But yes, and then Wednesday
What
is
else?
very big. That's what matters most. And the date is very tiny and transparent and accessibility-wise very lost in the background. So I just see that it's on Wednesday in September and I see the time. It's
Okay, so the date is not,
yeah.
is could be written better, right?
Imbalanced
Like
and, yeah.
the day is too big, but the day, the 3rd of September, for example, is hard to read. Okay, date too big, hard to.
What time zone?
Yeah.
It's
No,
not, yeah, no time zone.
this thing about start before you're ready, will anybody understand what that's all about?
No.
I mean, it's a very nice idea, but you have to write a paragraph to explain it.
Yeah, or maybe this start before you are ready could be changed into some fancy trigger, because there is no trigger actually here. It's there are just information.
The thing is,
That's it.
that's the theme of the meeting, but then it's not clear for the people who has not been in Toastmaster that the meaning of a theme of a meeting.
Okay, yeah.
So-
Actually, personally, I feel that starts before you're ready is the strongest thing they have in here. Because it's something that exactly asks, gets people puzzled. What does that mean? And anything that is puzzling can attract attention. I think that this could be something, personally, this is the way I look at it. Every poster, of course, is a personal work. So maybe you might want to emphasize something else. For example, the benefits here are there, but they're very, very hard to read.
They're at the
Because
feet
here
of
they
the
have
meeting,
connection.
right?
Sorry?
At the feet of the meeting and very pale again, not everything else is in bold, that is very pale.
Yes, the
And the call to
benefits.
action join is also just as pale.
Benefits not visible or low visibility.
I think like the benefit is not clear. So it says about public speaking, connection, and impact, but it's not explicit. Like you can practice or yeah, it's not explicit.
Yeah, it's like a mix and match. Connection and impact are one thing, and public speaking seems like an oddball there, right?
Yeah, and for the people who is not from Toastmaster, it's not explicit that it's about for the people to practice, not just listen to somebody else talking.
And there's
Yeah,
no
so-
contact information.
Sorry, there is no
Contact information.
contact information.
Yeah, I now see the date, 3rd with RD. Like RD looks like it's some initial, the time zone you are looking for. 3rd September. Could have been very well 3 September and everybody would have understood it better.
Yeah, that part is a bit confusing. that area.
Yeah. Now, this could also be the fact that they have not put in the, I don't know, but this could be a local club. And this is an in-person meeting. So they would not need the time zone. I believe this is an in-person meeting. That's why there is not that information is not there. However, there is no call to action here anywhere.
Yeah, the join our meeting, which everybody loves a meeting, don't we? We all want more meetings in our life.
Yeah, that's the only call to action they have is join our meeting, which is okay as a call to action if you first prepare and you have highlighted the benefits of it. But just to join a meeting is not really something that excites anyone.
Exactly. So that should be like the set,
Okay,
like the last part of the set.
Guys, maybe it's my connection, but I don't hear very well. So maybe if you speak up a little bit more,
No, so this
or I might miss.
this call to action, the join our meeting, it could have been the last part in the set, right? At the end.
Yes, yes. And of course, like we said, the very first comment was the meeting is way too big. It does not need to be that big. So sometimes people are very excited about their meetings. And so they feel that that's what they should be showcasing. But we know that most people are not that excited, are they? Okay, so let's move on and see how we could be improving this. Uh-oh, let me need to remove all of this. Okay, now this is the first study that I've done, which is I've kept the color, which is the background that they had, and I have created areas of separation for all of their okay, I've taken here the eye does not really know where to go. So I have created areas where people could be looking at dividing the information. I like that start before you're ready for the reason I mentioned earlier. But if you don't like it, you could also just put the benefits there just as well. We kept the speakers. We put them in a line. And then the benefits are underneath of it. Improve your public speaking and build confidence. And then when join our meeting, this is the call to action and where and the date. The second improvement that I worked on was contrast and bullets. Created negative space, more contrast with respect to the first example, and also increasing the space, the negative space. Negative space is the space which could be white, but it could also be another color, but it's the space that is empty, which gives breathing space to text and elements on the page.
And it's nice that you avoided the dirty background they had before. It's not very clear what was in the back there. Some arrows, some text, some overlapping as if it was painted over.
Yeah, they had like I think an arrow. They had some design in the back there, and yeah, I kept it in the first one because it was theirs, but then I removed that and I went to the blue. I like the blue with the yellow better, but of course, if you like the maroon, you could as well use that. Now, any ideas about these?
I have two questions or thoughts. First of all, are we looking at now the F format there?
This is a case study that I have taken, and I am proposing ways to improve them, okay, to you. And
yes, I understand that, but I'm saying that you taught us about the two kind of best layouts. And
Yes,
is this an example of the F format?
yes, definitely. This is the F format.
And the other thing I'm wondering, a couple of things on this. I see that who are these people? Are like why are we using these people's? It's the name, but are they doing an educational session? Are they the Toastmaster of the meeting? We thought they looked cute, so they would attract some people. And the other thing is that those bullet points just seem to be dropped in the middle of nowhere without a real connection to the start before you are ready.
Okay.
That's just how
Okay.
I'm.
Now about the people, I have no idea about who they were. I think they were their speakers. They in this original post here, they have 3 speakers. I don't know who they are. Most likely they are just, you know, the speakers of the evening. And so I kept those images. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I
They've
kept
got.
what they had done and just changed it around.
I see that the word
Okay,
speaker is in the
so
previous one, so that's okay. Yep, okay.
yeah, so they're speakers, but I have no idea who they are. And of course, it's not them, but it's other people. So I've tried to keep their layout, or at least, you know, their content, and try to change the layout there. Now, I like the comment about the bullet points. How would you change them?
I was reading this as a non-Toastmaster, and if I didn't know what Toastmasters was, I wouldn't know what this meeting's about. Start what before you're ready?
That's the point I was saying earlier. I think I liked that meeting theme there. I think it's a very provocative type of sentence that attracts the attention. But it's up to you. What would you put there as the main message?
I like the left one that it says improve your public speaking because it's clear. The benefit is clear and build confidence is also clear.
Okay, so would you use that as here instead of start before you're ready?
I think like what you mentioned that start before you are ready is provocative. So it makes you wonder and think. But I would change the background from the left side because there is some text in the back that is it's confusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you mean the maroon here that they have on the left?
Yes, yes. There's some black text that it says public speaking and something else in the back.
Yeah, it must be a picture. I think it's a
It must be a
picture.
picture. It must be a picture. Yes.
I think it's a picture. I kept it because this is what they had, but of course I would change that. You can, so the background here, you could have the blue or you could have the maroon, which are the colors of Toastmasters, of course.
I think that sometimes people try to see how many fancy design elements they can put in a poster to make it look like they've got skills at using a program or something, which in the left one is like, I know you told us about arrows, but here's my little brain is ignoring the join our meeting and trying to figure out what that is in the background there. And that's I'm scared that if I did that with one of my posters, that's what people also would do. Although I admit I am guilty to trying to use certain design features to enhance my message or to make people stop and look, which now I know is not really how to make them stop and look. But I do agree with what Juan said. Action statements, improve your confidence, make connections, gain impact. Something like that would be
So
the things that how I would put it.
you would do that where in the bullets, or would you write it as a sentence?
No, I think I would bullet it, but I might separate a little bit from the top of the screen. I prefer the colors actually in the left-hand one. I'm not a fan of that white there like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know people like negative space and stuff, but I just think it breaks things up and makes, I don't know, I just don't like it. That's all. I don't have a good reason. There, now I like it.
Now, I accidentally moved the thing. Well, since we've seen it, let's move on to the next one. Now, I've kept the blue and yellow and white, but then again, it's always a matter of personal taste. So if you prefer the other colors, that's up to you. I mean, we're all here, we're all different, and we all might have different takes on this. It's just to see the principles, how they work. Now, I do agree with you that I should add a verb to the bullets because that makes it so much more sense. Here, like you said, it's improve your confidence, grow connection, and something about impact as well. Use verbs there.
Gain impact,
That
I think
would make
I
it
said,
so
but
much more sense. Yeah, gain impact. I think that would be much, much better. Thank you for that. So the next thing is it addresses the question that we had earlier, and that is, should we use speakers like they did, or should we use some other image? In this case, is a stock image, but it could even be one of your one of the people in your club. As if you have pictures, high quality pictures that you can use, like this one, for example, you know. Some people have very good cameras, but even phones nowadays have very good cameras. You can take very high quality pictures of your members and then use them in certain cases, just like you would use a stock photos. That would even be nice because then at the bottom you could put the name of the person, for example. So in this case, as I was mentioning earlier, depends on your audience. And if your audience knows or you think may know the speakers, then the speakers have a sense there. Otherwise, it would be best if, remember that the goal of our posters is not to give all the information on that piece of post there, but is to attract the attention and get the person to say stop, and then that person will go and read the details later in the caption usually. So this guy over here with this big smile and with this yellow jacket that goes with the rest of the colors is really a lot more attractive than speakers nobody knows. Anyone agrees, disagrees?
no,
I've even
I
made
agree.
different posters with each of those speakers, each one taking one of the points, confidence, connection, and impact. And that way you would have something that is unitary somehow because the person is placed in the same spot on the poster. The message changes, people are curious and try to catch what the difference is, like we did in school. It might be with a different color or something just to spice it up a bit, but overall similar.
And so maybe I did not understand correctly. Are you suggesting that you do 3 posters instead of 1?
Yep.
Oh, okay, with the speakers.
So that we have less text on the page and each speaker takes one topic, one of the
Okay.
benefits.
Yes, well, going with one benefit only is tops. If you only have one benefit, it's spelled out, it's big, and it's really impactful. Remember that we are looking, we have that question there, what's in it for me? And if I'm very interested in creating connection, and you show me a poster that is really all about connection, that is more attractive than if it's in a bullet point together with a lot of other stuff. But then it depends on also, you know, this is a meeting. This is a simple meeting poster. So
I think everyone probably has their own interpretation to it. It reminds me of a poster I did probably a couple of years ago about today is the right day, or this is the right time, or something like that. When people, because people always say, oh, when I've got less to do, when the kids grow up, blah, 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 they've always got an excuse. And so I think to me, this says the same message. Like, I'm not ready yet. Well, start before you are ready. Like it's a proactive thing, addressing what you know people are going to say.
Yeah, unfortunately, my connection is not good and your voice broke at one point, so I did not hear the last part.
I saw that you were frozen on my screen. To me, it's a proactive way of addressing what people are going to say. Come to Toastmasters. Oh, I'm not ready yet. We're sort of getting in their foot in the door before they have a chance to say that. So I like the message, and I agree with you with how you highlighted it.
Yeah, I think that is a strong message because, you know, what we really try to do here is create interest, is create curiosity, get people to stop scrolling and go and read the caption and go and read what we have to say. That's all we're trying to do. Okay, next, targeting special groups. As you can see here, I have created then another poster, always with the same text, because the text I've kept the same now throughout all of them. And also, I have also kept the same structure, the same reading pattern, which is the F pattern. But here you have a different feeling, as you can see. Now, if you're targeting a young group, like it could be students, maybe you have students around, or anyways, there are areas, like in our region, we have certain countries that have very young Toastmasters, and other countries that have older type of audiences or membership. So it depends really who you are targeting. The left one would be for the young generations. The right one could be for middle management, for example, or it could work if you are in a corporate club and you're trying to attract people in your company. So really what you are using as pictures have very strong power. You wouldn't do a one catch all type of poster. You really have to think of who is on the other side and who are you going to attract, or are you trying to attract, because people will see themselves in it. So the mid manager will never see himself in the younger guy with the yellow jacket, most likely. Any comments on that?
One of the things that I learned in advertising school is that if you're going to show someone's face, make it, if the person's really a 7, make it an 8. Because we like to be around, and I know it's shallow, but we like to be around people like us, but what we think we really look like because we're sexy or whatever. So just a little bit above, but aim towards the group you want to hang out with.
Exactly.
So what would you do to this one?
I'm not a fan of the anonymous speaker. I love the one with the rain slicker on. Not only is it bright yellow, it shows versatility. It's not just an old white man club, so to speak. He
That's
also,
it.
yeah, I know. And I like that he shows enthusiasm and ethnic diversity. So I kind of feel that the picture of the young man is appealing. It looks like it's going to be a good time. It's not going to be whatever Robert's Rules of Order, boring stuff. It's going to be interactive. So I always use Shutterstock, and if anybody would like at the end, I can put in a document where you can get all kinds of free graphics and fonts. And also I'll put in the Pathways catalog. I'm the designer of that. But I like that guy with the slicker. He looks exciting. The guy with the microphone could be talking about laundry detergent. So.
Yes. Well, but see here, the question is, how do you target special groups? And how to use pictures to leverage that targeting. I know I do like as the yellow guy, I mean the yellow jacket guy more myself. Okay. In fact, I've used them in the other posters as well. But It depends on who you're targeting. So this is what I wanted to prove here, is that you can change the total look and feel of a post by changing the picture. And
I
that,
come from a relaxed club, and most of the clubs are relaxed, but for the last few years, I've traveled around the world on Zoom, and I've been to many clubs in certain parts of the world who would not like this guy at all. They come to their meetings dressed up, they're wearing suits and ties, and I've even seen disparaging comments to people who came with more casual dress and reminding them that this is a professional meeting, a professional club. So when you talk about targeting who you want to be in your club and who would feel comfortable, I too think that picking the right pictures. I agree that I like Rain Slicker Guy more for my purposes, but not necessarily all purposes.
yes, so, you know, we need to be flexible there, not just what we like, but what we are targeting as designers. And here we have the F pattern, and I also have created with the same text a Z pattern. So to show you that with the very same text, you can also create a different pattern. Again, this confidence, connection, and impact, I think they're strong enough, but they could be, as we already mentioned, with verbs before them. Any comments about the patterns? Because at this point, I am done with my presentation, and I have here a list of key takeaways from what we looked at today. The first one is that in order for us to get the okay, so that the person will look and read actually what you've written on your post and on your caption, you need to get the okay from the emotional center, the amygdala, and to do so, we need to use strong triggers. We have, who remembers the triggers for the amygdala? Anyone?
Visual, social, and it was the
surprise, no?
growth.
Surprise is one, yes.
Growth, like avoiding, was
Safety, protection.
looking for
Avoiding pain.
avoiding pain, and looking for smiles, and looking for the people to the eyes, emotion.
Good. Contrast, bright colors,
Contrast,
arrows,
arrows, yes.
diagonals.
Yeah.
Those are movement, yes. So reels work very well because they're videos, they're moving. So let's not forget that.
And negative space to give people a break.
Yes, negative space to give the eye a break, and also cluster things, proximity. And another thing we looked at was to be laser focused with our main message, and that is 10 words or less. 10 words is actually a lot, can be less than 8. Design with intention, that is those patterns, the F and the Z, they work all the time, guys. So, you know, you just learn how to do it, and it's very simple, and it works. It's backed by over 2 decades of research. And you know what? They started in 2006, and they have repeated it in 2017, and they have found no difference in reading patterns. So even after 15 years or something, or after many, many years, the reading patterns are stable. So they are actually the ones that people are using. And then creating powerful call to actions, not half powerful. Let's not forget that they need verbs. They need benefits in them. And we definitely need to tell people exactly what they want, what they need to do, and what they're going to gain from it. if we want the call to action to be followed through with.
Paola?
Yes?
I commend you for the excellent use of fonts. A lot of people don't realize that if their primary way of displaying a poster like this is online, to use sans serif, no fancy little diddles on the end of the of each letter. It's much easier to read online. Serif fonts will be too hard to, it's the pixels and the way they lay out on the monitor. So good use
Yeah.
of fonts.
Yeah, sans serif is best. And in fact, if you follow Toastmasters, they have sans serif. Because Montserrat is a very simple, open, what's that they have also? I forget the names now, but the ones that they have, they have added something very strange lately. But I suppose,
Corinthia.
yeah, Corinthia, that's right. They say it's for the occasions, maybe for Christmas, I don't know, but it is kind of strange.
But aren't sans serif fonts not easy for people with various dyslexia patterns? Don't they see it better? Difference between an A and an O when the letters are a bit more square with dashes coming out of them? So the serif kind. I don't know. I also like sans serif, but I try to use these ones for dyslexics.
I am not aware of this. I cannot answer that question. Well, then,
Anyhow, we are
guys,
kept
I'm
to the
done.
fonts of
This is it.
Toastmasters International, so whatever they use, we use.
Yeah, if we are to be on brand, yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Paola.
You're welcome.
Paola, thank you a lot. We are going to upload this video in YouTube.
Now, what did you guys learn? At least one thing that you will walk away with from this webinar tonight.
The Z and the F.
The Z and the F.
For me, it was about the patterns also, the patterns. Yeah, the patterns, because
patterns.
the patterns, because before I was sometimes unconsciously following some patterns, but now I will do it more consciously, and then just making sure that there's a pattern.
So the patterns, the F and the Z, that's what stays with you. Any other ideas? Any other one that will walk away with something new?
Really just sticking to the main thoughts and not trying to tell them everything you know or everything you think you'd like them to know in one spot, and putting that in the text that goes on your poster, or asking people to engage by clicking here to download a fact sheet or something like that. Just keeping it simple and clean.
Yeah, the link in bio, no.
Yeah, I love this.
And also like the time span of the people. So we want the people to stop, right? We want the people to stop and then to focus in our poster and to focus in our content. So we have 1.7 seconds to do that.
I'm looking forward to finding ways to manipulate people. Like, so, what can I do that's going to make
Yeah,
you
I know.
stop?
Well, it is a bad statistics. I mean, when you read it for the first time, it really, you know, I know how much time I put sometimes into creating material, and thinking that people will just, you know, look at it for a second and then scroll to the next cat video. It's really disheartening sometimes. So that's why I really studied how to get people to stop, at least long enough to capture the attention so that if they're interested, because of course, personal relevance is number one, for example, I hate everything that has to do with mechanics. So if there was a perfect poster done with everything on it about changing tires, it would not catch me, no matter how good the poster was, because it's not relevant. Okay, but if there is some relevance to it, a poster that will catch your attention, you will give it the time to read it and decide on it. As Toastmasters International to rebrand the logo to a cat. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah. Anyways, well, thank you very much for your attention, because this has been a long session. I know there has been a lot of content in it, and thank you for your attention, for your participation. I couldn't ask any better.
Thank you. Thank you.
This has been the
Paola.
most amazing thing I've done all month.
Just put in the chat something I borrowed from the internet, and it's 12 ways to get people to click. So it's very much in line with that action. Don't miss out, one exclusive offer. You have to deliver, or people are going to get to know you as a liar. But these are great ways to just lead into a poster or a promo or something for your website. Fear of missing out is obviously the number one that people have, because we want to absorb it all.
Yeah, that's used a lot in advertising. The fear of missing out.
Well, I came specifically to reinforce what I had learned and find out if there was anything that had changed. And I'm glad that you shared all the concepts of marketing, and that they're still solid, although our attention span has gotten tiny.
Yeah, it has dropped so much. It used to be like 8 seconds. I don't remember the year, but not too many years ago, and it's really dropped. And the 1.7 seconds there, I think it may have dropped even more, and especially for younger generations, like the Z generation.
Have
So
you played with A/B testing on Facebook?
personally, no. I used to do A/B testing for my business, yes, but not for Toastmasters.
Okay. I'm finding that brighter colors, like you said, are really the most drawing immediately. And then a good-looking person, not a model, but a good-looking person. And then just really quickly, what's in it for me?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Absolutely. Because again, like I said in the beginning, it's not our conscious mind that decides what attracts, but it's the unconscious mind, which is the part that is there, that is looking out for what's useful to us, what it's, even beauty could be useful to us. So it attracts.
Definitely. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Sandra, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you a lot, and have a nice evening and a nice day if you are on the east. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Paola. Thank you, Juan. Thank you to the district. Amazing. Bye-bye.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.